As the eldest of Janelle and Kody Brown, and the first in a litter of 18, Logan was raised in the constant scrutiny of the family's unorthodox arrangement of sister wives. And so came great expectations. He was to be the one in charge, the doer, the role model for the rest. But although he bore that title with a quiet strength, few ever observed what was actually happening beneath the surface. And still fewer knew the true cause. Logan ultimately walked away from the family and the limelight. By age 18, Logan wasn't only a big brother, he was effectively a second parent. When Janelle had late shifts, it was Logan who prepared dinner. He assisted his younger siblings with their homework. He was the one intervening when Kody flew off the handle. He kept things stable, even as the family dynamic began to change, particularly when Robyn came along. Now Logan had no problem with Robyn. Initially, he was actually quite close with her son Dayton. But he noticed the shift right away. Kody's focus and love began to shift away from his initial children. And instead, it all went to Robyn's kids. Especially Dayton. But still, it wasn't the favoritism that shattered Logan. What actually stung, what no one ever witnessed on TLC, went down behind closed doors. That's where the true tale of Logan's leaving started. There was one incident, specifically, a private conversation between Logan and Kody, tape recorded but never broadcast. It occurred shortly after Kody and Robyn had formalized their marriage, and just as the long and wrenching process of adopting Robyn's 3 children, Dayton, Aurora, and Brianna, was underway. Kody was laser-sharp on being Dayton's legal father. He wanted to be regarded as a savior, particularly in front of cameras. And Logan? He didn't mind Dayton receiving support. They had always been tight, but the manner in which Kody pursued it, that was different. That's what broke the trust. Kody began drifting away from his biological children emotionally. Logan was the one who felt it most. He saw his dad devote all his time and energy to being a superhero for some other person's children and hardly noticed the son who had remained loyal to him all these years. And then Kody asked Logan to put on an act, to pretend to be thrilled with the adoption, especially in front of the cameras. Logan would not. He's embracing Dayton, Logan whispered to Janelle, but he's leaving me behind. Janelle was conflicted. She could tell her son was upset, but she didn't want to get in the middle. She favored all the children, but for Logan, the harm was done. He had already lost so much for the family, his adolescence, his liberty, even bits of himself. And when he finally broke open to Kody about the way he felt, the reaction was icy. You've grown up. You don't need me anymore, Kody said. Dayton does. That single phrase altered everything. Then the ultimatum, off camera, personal and secret. Kody instructed Logan, endorse the adoption in public, or leave. That evening, Logan left his bags packed. No screaming, no crying, just a silent farewell. I love you, he said to Janelle, but I can't keep acting anymore. I'm finished pretending. He departed Flagstaff that evening, stepped out of the cameras, and from Kody and Robyn, without ever saying goodbye. On Sister Wives next season, his departure was glossed over. They attributed it to being busy with school, taking care of his personal life. The truth behind him leaving? Not a single thing to do with school. It was all about getting away from Kody's manipulation, and recovering from the profound pain of being emotionally relegated to the backseat for a son he hardly knew. And here's something that never appeared on the show. Court records later indicated that all the adult relatives had to sign declarations of support for Dayton's adoption. Logan didn't. One refusal set the whole process back almost 8 months, and Kody never forgot. At that time, Kody's behavior grew increasingly erratic. He attempted to redirect the narrative by portraying Logan as aloof and disrespectful. And Robyn, subtly but persistently, explained to the younger children that Logan made a choice to leave them. Eventually Kody was confronted by Janelle. You forced him to choose between obedience and honesty, she said, and he chose honesty. You should be proud of that. But Kody merely sneered. He broke the family, he said. Logan keeps to the family's private life today. He doesn't give interviews. He doesn't get involved in the drama. And he doesn't post online much. But although Logan has kept himself largely out of the public eye, he started opening up little by little, but only in safe, confidential places. Not to be blamed. Not to create drama. Just to heal. You know, Logan's tale isn't a bitter one. It's a tale of the emotional cost of being raised in a family that at times felt more like a TV set than a home. Nowadays, he's married to a woman who never even saw sister wives. And they've created a serene, quiet life together. The kind of peace and stability Logan never quite enjoyed as a kid. He isn't speaking out publicly, and in all honesty, he likely never will. But his silence speaks volumes. Sometimes the strongest decision you can make is to walk away. Logan's been off the show for almost 4 years now. During that time, he's built a low-key life for himself in Nevada, as far removed as possible from confessional interviews, producers, and the carefully constructed drama Kody and Robin had grown accustomed to. But peace has a tendency to get disrupted. It all came down on a chilly December afternoon. Janelle had invited Logan and his then-fiancée, Michelle, over for a low-key post-holiday dinner. Just the three of them. Or so they believed. As it turned out, one of the little siblings had let slip to Robin that Logan was in town. And Robin had made up her mind that now was the time to finally find closure. Janelle had kept her distance from Robin and Kody for quite a while, so she was surprised, and not in a good way, when Robin showed up at her doorstep, uninvited with Aurora and Dayton in tow. When Janelle opened the door, her expression said it all. "You're not supposed to be here," she said, cool and direct. Using her soft, syrupy tone, Robin replied, "I am not here to fight. I merely want to talk to Logan. We never got closure. Dayton deserves that." From the kitchen, she could hear Logan, and his entire body tensed. Michelle quietly reached under the table and took his hand, a simple gesture that helped ground him. He stood and walked into the room. "Robin," he started, his tone soft but resolute, "steel and velvet, I don't owe you anything. You chose your path, and I chose mine." Robin's expression tightened, but she didn't retreat. "You left us," she said. "You walked out on this family. Dayton looked at you as a brother. He wept for months." Logan's jaw tightened. He rose slowly, keeping his voice even. "Kody cried about Dayton too," he said. "But not me. Not when I explained to him that I couldn't pretend to endorse the adoption the way he wished. That day, he informed me that I was no longer part of the family. So I left." Robin's voice broke. "You let your pride damage people who loved you." Logan shrugged. "No, Robin. I left behind a setup where they expected me to do a show for the cameras, the court thing, and a man who only respected the children who did what they were told. That wasn't pride. That was self-respect." Aurora avoided eye contact, looking down at her hands. Dayton did not respond, his face a blank mask. "You could have stayed," Robin said, her voice gentle now. "We could have gotten past it." Logan stared her straight in the eye. "You didn't want to work it out. You wanted to control the narrative. Kody didn't want me involved. He wanted me quiet and out of here. And you assisted in making that happen. Then you went and informed the rest of the family I left you. You overstepped, Robin. And Dayton's old enough now to understand what happened. You ought to ask him." The room fell silent. At last, Dayton had spoken. His voice was low and tentative. I always wondered why you never said goodbye. They said you didn't care." Logan's face softened. He turned to him. "I did care, Dayton. I still do. But I couldn't pretend anymore. I didn't leave because I didn't love you. I left because I had to survive." Dayton nodded slowly, taking it in but no sign of anger on his face. Only quiet comprehension. Robin's eyes welled up. "We were a family," she breathed. Logan looked at her. "No, we were a TV family." It was then that Janelle intervened. Obviously had had enough. She turned to Robin, tired but with a sharp tone. "You didn't come here for closure," she told him. "You came to revise history and bully Logan into going along with it, and I won't let you do it. Not in my house." "Janelle," Robin began. But Janelle held up her hand. "No, you and Kody worked years creating your ideal family, while the rest of us were left in the dust. While Kody was off playing patriarch with you, Logan was here keeping this family together. And when he finally said enough, you portrayed him as cold and ungrateful. I saw it happen. I lived it." Robin's shoulders sank. She suddenly looked older, not from age, but from losing her grip on the version of the story she'd been trying to control. "Please," she said softly. Dayton just wanted to see him. Logan stepped forward and gave Dayton a small nod. You know where to find me, anytime. Just you. Outside, snow had only just started falling. Logan turned to Michelle, grasped her hand, and pulled her out onto the back porch, leaving behind a room that still rang with all that had not been said. Robin remained in the doorway, clinging to something shattered, something she could no longer repair. When Robin came home to the cul-de-sac in Flagstaff that evening, something in her vibration was different. She was subdued, but obviously disturbed. Her eyes were bloodshot, not from tears, but from keeping the tears trapped. She had gone to Janelle's house, believing she might get some control back, possibly even shame Logan into confessing that he'd done something wrong. Instead, she faced a mother who no longer accepted apologies, and a son who no longer respected the man who raised him. She entered the living room, where Kody was half paying attention to an old Knight Rider rerun. He looked up lazily. So, he stated, did Logan ever wake up and smell the coffee? Robin unbuttoned her coat carefully. She didn't reply immediately. Robin? Kody sat up more alertly. You did talk to him, didn't you? She regarded him then, eyes tired and pinched. Yes, Kody, I spoke with him. And no, he did not come to some realization that he was in error. He said precisely what he has always said. You pushed him aside. You abandoned him. Kody's jaw clenched. That's stupid, he growled. I gave that kid everything. A home opportunity, a roof over his head, discipline. And now, just because he refused to back Dayton's adoption, he's playing the victim. That's sick. Robin spoke softly. Kody, he's been hurting. For years. Kody stood up, his tone acidic and ascending. No, you're hurting because that little reunion you were expecting did not occur. And now you are here attempting to get me to feel guilty, because he decided to walk away from this family. That is not my fault, Robin. That is his. She winced slightly. He's not the enemy. He made himself the enemy. Kody snapped. He defied my authority. He turned his back on his siblings. Do you have any idea how that appeared when he refused to sign off on Dayton's adoption? The court questioned it. He made me a fool. Is this about your reputation? Robin's tone abruptly chilled. Not about your son. Kody reddened. Don't misquote me. Family is about being together. No, she stated curtly. Family is about respect. It's about listening, not silencing people, or shoving them away when you hear the word no. That isn't unity, Kody. That's coercion. For a moment, Kody stared at her, as if he didn't know her. His tone dropped, but his words became biting. So now you think his version of events. Yeah, I think he spoke the truth, she said. He said, you said to him, that he was no longer part of the family. And what happened? He wasn't. That struck a chord. Kody threw up his arms. He didn't approve of the adoption. He didn't approve of us. He's the oldest, he should have led by example. Robin simply stared at him, heart plummeting. He did, Kody. When things got toxic, he bailed. And that was the example. The room fell silent. The next morning, Kody was still seething. He stormed over to the Airbnb-type rental, where Janelle was residing. He didn't knock. He just beat on the door. Janelle answered it, already tired, holding a hot cup of coffee. Not today, Kody. You turned him against me. Kody spit out. You've always nurtured his bitterness. Janelle sighed heavily. No, Kody. I sheltered him from your bitterness. Big difference. He humiliated me. Kody snarled. Like I couldn't even hold on to my own son. Janelle was blunt. You didn't need assistance with that. You employed your love, your attention, even your presence as weapons. Logan witnessed that. And now, so do the remaining children in your family. I gave birth to that boy. Kody screamed. And you made him wish he hadn't been involved. Janelle's voice broke, anger bursting over. You couldn't stand being challenged, so you drove him off. And when he did finally leave, you blamed him, rather than taking a look at yourself. Kody recoiled, taken aback. Her next words were spoken softly, but they struck like a sledge. He was the best of us, and you lost him. Kody sat in his truck for almost an hour that evening, clinging to the steering wheel, gasping for air. For the first time in years, the image he had carefully constructed, of himself as the sacrificing strong patriarch, began to crack. Logan had grown up under Kody's shadow. He'd been a second father, sacrificed his youth, kept the family afloat, during times Kody couldn't, or wouldn't. In the instant Logan made a decision for himself, Kody labeled him as unfaithful. The adoption of Dayton. It was never merely bureaucratic. It was about all the times that Kody asked for loyalty, but did not give it back. All the ways he asked for obedience, but did not provide real, steady love. Somewhere, buried deep in that silence, even Kody had to confront the possibility. Logan hadn't left the family. He had weathered it. The next morning, Robin and Kody's house was silent. Unnervingly silent. It was a silence that precedes a storm. A thick, unseen tension suspended in the air. Upstairs, Dayton sat alone in the hallway, headphones draped around his neck, eyes blankly staring at his phone. He was still going over Logan's words from the previous night. That wasn't love. That was survival. Dayton hadn't slept a wink. Once he saw Logan again, he was not angry, only bewildered. And above all else, he was consumed by doubt. For the majority of his adolescence, Dayton had been presented with a very distinct narrative about where Logan went. Kody had drawn a portrait of a careless brother, one who wandered away from the family, demonstrated no allegiance, and never really welcomed Dayton into it. When Logan's name was mentioned, Robin would become upset and cry, insisting that Logan had rejected her children to begin with. But what Dayton had seen the previous night wasn't that story at all. Logan wasn't cold. He wasn't aloof. He was serene, composed, and obviously hurt. Hurt deep. But still, he moved with dignity. Dayton knew that pain. He'd seen it before. In his own reflection. He waited until morning. After breakfast, Kody had withdrawn to the garage to have one of his classic sulking fits, and Robin had retreated to lie down, complaining of a migraine. That's when Dayton quietly tapped on Kody's office door. Kody, still seething from the night before, opened it with a scowl. Yeah? He growled. Dayton didn't sugarcoat it. I have a question, he said. And I want the truth. Kody raised an eyebrow. Okay, what actually went down with Logan? Dayton asked, meeting his eyes. Kody rolled his eyes dramatically. We've discussed this, Dayton. He was defiant. Selfish. He did not want to be a part of the family. Dayton did not move. No, I mean the truth. Not the story for the cameras. What did you tell him? Exactly. Kody hesitated. Now, caught off guard, he said. Dayton went on, voice shaking a little. That you said to him that he was no longer a member of this family. That you threatened him with an ultimatum. Endorse the adoption, or walk. Kody gave a hollow laugh. The kind you give when you're cornered. He's twisting everything. Dayton stepped forward. Did you say that to him? Kody glanced away for a beat. He wasn't cooperating. He complicated matters. But did you let him know he was out? Dayton asked again. Firm. Silence. That silence was all Dayton required. The truth, at last coming undone at the seams. Later in the day, Dayton ran into Robin in the kitchen. She was elbow deep in washing dishes. Maybe to keep away from the kind of meltdown Kody had just survived. Mom, he whispered. Why did you say Logan didn't care about us? Robin's spine grew rigid. You told me he was against the adoption. Dayton went on. That he didn't love you like a brother. Robin spun about, tears welling. I never meant to hurt you, sweetheart. I wanted you to be safe. At the time Logan was so furious. He made us feel unwelcome. No, Dayton replied firmly. You made him feel like he was going to be replaced. You told me he didn't want me. That I should be concentrating on you and Kody instead. You used him to make me feel closer to Kody. Robin shook her head. That's not fair, isn't it? Dayton asked, smiling, but firmly. He was my brother. He still is. And I want to know him. Not the one you and Kody told me. She extended her hand to him, but Dayton moved back. I love you, Mom, but I don't believe the lies anymore. I need to find the truth myself. That evening Dayton did something he hadn't done in years. He opened his computer, dug into an old file, and discovered Logan's email, one he had filed away long ago, but never had the courage to use. He typed haltingly, Hi, it's Dayton. I'm not quite sure what to say here, but I think I know more than I did before, and I apologize for thinking the wrong things. Would you be willing to talk sometime? He hovered over the send button, and clicked. With that solitary quiet action, Dayton did something Kody never did. He opted for truth rather than blind allegiance, recovery rather than domination. Miles away in Nevada, the sun was only just rising, as Logan sat down with his coffee.
His mornings were usually routine. Emails, news headlines, perhaps some work calls. But today something different had arrived in his inbox. A message from Dayton. Logan gazed at it for a long time, not even blinking. His chest constricted as he read every word. "Hi, it's Dayton. I'm not really sure what to say right now, but I think I understand. And I'm sorry. Can we talk sometime?" Logan stood from his desk, hands in his pockets, and started pacing the room. The house was still, the kind of quiet that feels sacred. Michelle was asleep upstairs. His mind wandered back to years ago. Dayton as a young boy, sitting next to him on the couch, awkwardly asking for help, tying his tie before church.
Back when things were simpler. Before the silence. Before the betrayal. And now here was Dayton. Not as Robin's son. Not as Kody's adoptive legacy. But as himself, reaching out. Logan breathed out. "Yes," he whispered. "That would be lovely. A genuine conversation. Just the two of them. No cameras." When the time was right to meet, they went to a small little coffee shop off the Las Vegas Strip. A long way from the din, the cameras, and the burden of the family history that both of them shared. Logan spotted Dayton. The moment he stepped in, he didn't resemble that apprehensive kid anymore. The one who would run after Kody's validation, like it was oxygen. No, Dayton appeared older these days. Rock solid. Matured. But his eyes, those were unchanged. Kind. Open. Searching. Dayton stood uneasily as Logan approached, wondering whether a handshake or an embrace would be the appropriate gesture. Logan just nodded slightly, and whispered, "Hey man." They sat. The silence between them wasn't cold, but it was thick, just heavy with unspoken things. Then Dayton finally broke the silence, his voice a bit trembly. "I didn't know. I really didn't." Logan stared at him, straight on. "I thought you didn't want me," Dayton confessed. "That you left because I wasn't a good fit. Because I wasn't part of the family." Logan tight-jawed and slowly shook his head. "That's what they said." Dayton nodded. Logan's voice was gruff and low with emotion. "I never had an issue with you. What I had an issue with was being used. Being used in something I didn't believe in. Dad was rewriting reality for a plotline, and I couldn't play it like everything was okay to smile on television. He pushed me aside for his next book, and I wasn't going to stand there agreeing." Dayton's voice was unsteady. "Then why didn't you say goodbye? Why didn't you say something?" Logan turned away, agony crossing his features. "Because if I had said goodbye, I wouldn't have left," he whispered, his voice so soft. "And Dayton, I was drowning, attempting to keep it all together, taking care of Dad, taking care of everyone, keeping up the act that everything was okay. For the cameras, for the fans. I couldn't breathe. If I had stayed one more day, I would have shattered." Tears pricked in Dayton's eyes. "I missed you," he said. "You were the only one who ever spoke to me like I was just me. Not broken. Not a charity case. Not a plot twist." Logan gazed down, his voice gentle. "I missed you too." They sat there, two brothers, talking for more than 2 hours. Dayton discussed how Robin and Kody had turned Logan's departure into a story of abandonment. Logan detailed how Janelle had attempted to stand up for him, but the emotional drain and the deceptions broke her down. Dayton conceded how Logan's lack of communication all those years was perceived as rejection, even though now he realized it wasn't intended that way. "When Kody took me in," Dayton replied, "I always felt like I was substituting for someone. I didn't want to, but it felt like I was standing in for someone else." "You weren't," Logan said softly. "Kody sacrificed my space. That wasn't your fault." Frustrated, Dayton shook his head. "We both got used." Logan nodded. "Yeah, but that doesn't mean we have to remain broken." They sat for a little longer in quiet peace, two men who were finally starting to get to know one another. Then Dayton said, "So, what now?" Logan smiled slightly. "Now we try again. Not as guests on their TV show. Not as participants on their family soap opera. Just us, brothers, you and me." Dayton nodded slowly. "That sounds good." When they stood up to go, Logan put a hand on Dayton's shoulder. Not because he felt guilty. Not because he felt like he had to. Simply because he cared. Deeply. Truly. The kind of motion that didn't require cameras or validation. The Vegas wind outside cut across the sidewalk. But between them, something had begun to melt.
a long frozen connection softly repairing itself. Neither one whispered, "I forgive you." They didn't need to. Their actions had already made a louder statement. At home, Kody Brown was pacing the kitchen like a man expecting a storm. He looked at his phone. Again, no calls, no messages, just nothing. And Kody didn't like nothing, especially when it meant something was going on that he didn't have control over. Robin sat at the counter, fingers drumming against a cup of unmoved chamomile tea. At last, she said, Dayton and Logan caught up. Kody stopped mid-step. It felt as if someone had yanked the plug on him. When? He whispered. In Vegas, Robin replied. I didn't mention it earlier because you'd go haywire. Kody blew up. You don't believe this is spiritual. His fists were clenched, eyes burning as he strode out of the kitchen. So Logan's poisoning him now? Corrupting him against us? Is that it? Robin trailed behind, attempting to keep her voice steady. No, Kody, Logan's not poisoning anyone. Dayton asked questions. Logan answered him truthfully. Oh come on, Kody snarled. That boy's been bitter since the day he learned to speak. Always making me out to be the bad guy, because I didn't fawn over him. His voice grew louder. I did everything for him. Everything. Robin's voice was soft now, a whisper. You gave Dayton your name, but you gave Logan nothing but silence. Kody whirled to confront her, eyes wide. I adopted Dayton to give him a future, Kody growled. Robin did not back down. No, she said quietly. You adopted him to create a persona, a version of you that you wanted the world to think. It struck Kody like a blow. Your voice, he spat, sounds an awful lot like Janelle's. Janelle's last word. Kody didn't call first when he arrived at Janelle's apartment that night. He blew in, out of breath, not from tiredness, but from a fury so powerful it nearly became pathetic. Janelle, herself tired, opened the door with a weary face. I'm going to take a guess you heard Logan and Dayton spoke. You nurtured it, Kody fumed. You've been undermining me behind my back for years, sowing rebellion, poisoning the kids against me. Janelle folded her arms. Kody, those seeds were planted already. You just poured gasoline on the ground, and called it leadership. Kody advanced, his voice increasing in volume. I'm still their father. Janelle did not back down. No. You're now a figurehead, hanging on to power you haven't gained in years. Kody shook. They're falsifying history. No, she replied calmly. Logan remembers precisely what you said to him. So do I. He became a barrier because you were fixated on adopting Dayton. And now that Dayton is aware of the truth, your entire fantasy is coming undone. Kody's lips parted, then closed again as if he couldn't breathe. Janelle's voice softened, but remained cutting. This was never about Dayton. It's about control. You wanted to be the hero, even if it cost you every actual relationship you had. I've heard enough, Hunter. He'd been overseeing Janelle, and overheard everything from the stairs. He entered the room, quiet but resolute. I've held my tongue long enough. But you don't get to barge in here and scream at Mom like she's the failure. You don't get that privilege anymore. Kody seemed shocked. Hunter held up a hand. No, you don't get to talk first this time. The room went utterly silent. You didn't notice Logan slipping, Hunter told him. You were too busy going after your next big thing. Your next storyline, your new batch of kids. While he kept the entire family together behind the scenes, you issued an ultimatum when what he needed was a father. Kody's voice broke. I was attempting to hold the family together. No, Hunter replied. You were constructing a new one. One where the rest of us didn't fit. He moved in closer. I used to stand up for you, Dad. When people said you were selfish, I'd argue back. But seeing how you threw Logan away, it's obvious. You're punishing him for drawing a line. And the minute he walked away, everything shifted. Kody stood there, suddenly small, powerless. For once, no script, no spotlight to twist the narrative in his favor. Hunter's voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. You need to sit with what you've done. Not lash out, not spin it, just sit with it, for once. He paused. Logan isn't the broken one, Hunter said. You are. Later that evening, Kody sat by himself in his truck, hands laid out on the steering wheel. The quiet around him wasn't hollow this time. It was earned. The family that he'd shaped, molded and manipulated was drifting away, not because they betrayed him, but because they finally woke up. And this time, there were no producers, no edit, no camera crew to assist him in rewriting the ending. Let us hear your views in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more updates such as this. Thanks for watching.